Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and a very warm welcome to Wednesday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. So reports suggest that when Barry Allen in the Flash movie gets to the Flashpoint universe, the first Justice League member he's searching for is Henry Cavill's Superman. But doesn't this add insult to injury, knowing that Henry Cavill's Superman isn't playing any part in the Flash movie, and there was never any intention to play any part in the Flash movie? Now, rumours suggested after the Black Adam post-credit scene that they had shot something with Henry and put him in the movie. I think that is untrue. Why do I think that's untrue? Because everyone, Henry Cavill, The Rock, Zaslav, Mike DeLuca, Pam Abby, everyone knew that Henry Cavill didn't have a contract, right? That Henry Cavill didn't have a future as Superman. We know they lied to us, including Henry Cavill. Henry didn't have a contract. He knew damn well he wasn't really coming back. Basically, Henry took his 30 pieces of silver. They gave him the golden handshake, which meant he could work with Warner Brothers Discovery in the future. Don't be surprised, as James Gunn said, they have discussed him playing another character in DC. I think the whole thing was a lie. That means there was never any intention after the Black Adam movie for Henry Cavill's Superman to be in the Flash movie, and neither did they shoot anything. Blatant lie just to uplift the Black Adam movie that ultimately flopped anyway. Now, we don't know what they would have done if Henry Cavill's post-credit scene cameo had uplifted that movie. Maybe he would have been rewarded with a contract. Probably, who knows? The point is, the whole thing was a scam. So hearing these reports now, and I'm not going to confirm whether I knew this already, that, that's the first Justice League member Barry looks for, because I have seen a test screening. So I'm sworn to secrecy there. But seeing them actually talking about this publicly, and I'm talking about like scoopers, kind of winds me up. And I think it would wind any Henry Cavill Superman fan up as well, knowing that the first Justice League member that Barry is looking for is in fact Henry Cavill's Superman, even though there was never any intention to put him in the movie. Don't forget, Ben Affleck's Batman gets a chance to say a long goodbye. He dominates the first act of the movie. But where's Henry Cavill? And isn't it ironic? So he's looking for him in the Flashpoint universe, but doesn't he notice he's nowhere to be seen in the first act of the movie, in the present day, in the mainline DCEU? Isn't that ironic? Isn't that a plot hole? Now, I'm excited that Warner Brothers are excited about this movie, and, they're going to show this film, they're going to screen it, months and weeks before it gets released at CinemaCon. That's exciting. And I'm excited that everyone's hyped for this movie. I'm hyped for this movie. But things like that, I just think, why? I mean, you have to mention Henry Cavill's Superman. That's the problem. And then there's the deeper question still on my mind. Why isn't Henry Cavill's Superman anymore? And it comes back to one thing. Whether we're talking about James Gunn's reasoning for not using him anymore, or David Zaslav's reasoning, but Walter Hamada's reasoning as well for not wanting to use him in his DC future as well. And it comes to one thing: racism. Henry Cavill was a British actor playing Superman, and this didn't sit comfortably with a lot of traditional Superman fans and Americans. This is like the people who complain when straight actors are playing gay characters, or, basically straight males, or are playing, transgender characters. It's the same kind of argument. But acting's about creating an illusion. Acting is about creating something that isn't real. So I'm fine with all this shit. But it's clear the main reason that Henry Cavill isn't Superman anymore is because he's a British actor. Because you have to answer me the question, why isn't Henry Cavill Superman anymore? He doesn't seem to be a troublemaker, even though some people, Grace Randolph, for instance, trying to hint that he's a diva. I know he is very passionate about how these things are done. And that's because he's a geek and a nerd himself. And I appreciate Henry for being like that. But some people are saying he's not Superman anymore because he's expensive and they need a cheaper actor. So it will be interesting to see who plays Batman. Will they get unknowns in for these new versions of these DC characters? Or will they be existing actors, well-known actors? We simply don't know. I would hazard a guess that that these versions of these DC characters will be played by unknowns, not because they're cheap, because I agree. Christopher Reeve was an unknown. It worked, because otherwise you're seeing Austin Butler flying as Superman rather than Superman. It's always best to go with unknowns. For me personally, when we're talking about Batman and Superman, now Ben Affleck was very famous, he pulled off Batman. George Clooney was very famous, he didn't pull off Batman. Val Kilmer was kind of famous, he nearly just about did an okay job as Batman and Bruce Wayne, to be honest. But me, personally, I think the unknown thing works. And I'm always split with this Henry Cavill thing, always. Because half of me thinks it's a good idea, new timeline, start again, 10-year plan, you need a younger Superman. I get that. But I don't understand why Henry Cavill isn't playing Clark Kent and Superman in Act 1 of the Flash movie. But Ben Affleck gets to play this character. Gal Gadot gets the cameo in Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Now, you'll argue with me that Henry's had his cameo in Black Adam. Literally, it was his farewell DCEU performance as Superman. And what was it? Mere seconds? Because it wasn't minutes, was it? It's a very quick cameo. I still watch it repeatedly sometimes, and I love it. It upsets me because it teases an exciting future between Black Adam and Superman and DC. But unfortunately, the box office for Black Adam basically ended any chance of that. So part of me understands why they're not going forward with Henry Cavill. It's clear they can't go forward with The Rock's plans or The Rock as Black Adam, because clearly there isn't an audience there to support that. And I get all of that. I understand why they're going into a new timeline, because the DCEU was unsuccessful in terms of box office. When was the last time a DCEU movie was successful? Let's look back. Man of Steel was successful. BVS made a profit. Suicide Squad made a profit. Wonder Woman made a profit. Justice League didn't. Aquaman is the most successful film. Shazam made low box office but made 3 times its budget. But then, so basically Shazam is the last DCEU movie to make a profit. So it'll be interesting how the sequel does. But, Birds of Prey was a flop. The Suicide Squad was a flop. Black Adam was a flop. Wonder Woman 84 didn't make much money because it was released in the peak of the pandemic. But it was a shit movie, so it probably would have been a flop. Anyway, we're talking 4 movies here, everyone, that have been disastrous in the box office. So there's nothing to hint that Shazam Fury of the Gods would do any better. David F. Sandberg has been talking about Shazam Fury of the Gods. He's saying it's like a mini Avengers movie. He says there is a chance to continue the Shazam saga in James Gunn's and Peter Safran's new DC universe, but people need to go and support that movie. So if you want more Zachary Levi Shazam, and you want more Asher Angel, right, and you want more Jack Dylan Grazer as Freddie Freeman, then go and support that movie. I'm going to support that movie, mainly because I'm a DC fan and I love the first movie, but also for David F. Sandberg, who's a really, really good egg. Now, he did discuss the conversations he had with Gunn and Safran when they first took over DC Studios. They said this to the director: your films don't interfere with our future plans, so we're not going to interfere with your movie. That's why they had to interfere with elements of the Flash movie. Have they interfered with Blue Beetle? Have they interfered? They have interfered with the Flash movie. They had to make changes with that movie. We'll see what those changes are. Now, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, who knows what's going on? Apparently the test screenings haven't been too good. I'm not sure how much of that is an agenda against Amber Heard still remaining in that movie, and how much of that is true. So it's all a very, very interesting situation, but they're the reports that the first Justice League member that Barry Allen is looking for in the Flashpoint universe is Henry Cavill's Superman. And every time Henry Cavill's Superman's mentioned, and and the Flash movie's mentioned at the same time, I just feel a sadness. Because if you want to not go with him in the future, fine. I understand that to a point. But you allowed Ben Affleck as Batman and Bruce Wayne to have his swan song, to say his goodbyes. Why doesn't Henry Cavill get the same graces? This has been Wednesday's edition of the DC Universe Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.